Good day, Africa, and to all truth seekers around the world. History stirs in the heart of West Africa. In a move that is shaking the very pillars of global diplomacy, President Ibrahim of Burkina Faso has announced the complete shutdown of all European embassies operating within the country. Yes, from the French embassy to EU delegations, their missions are over, their doors are closing, their decades-long grip on West African diplomacy has just been severed. This is not just another news story, this is a declaration, a statement, a moment that will be etched in African political history for generations to come. The president's message was fiery, unflinching, and clear. Burkina Faso will no longer tolerate foreign interference disguised as diplomacy. The so-called partners who have used their embassies to infiltrate, manipulate, and destabilize are now being shown the exit. Let us understand the gravity of this. For over 6 decades, European embassies in Africa have functioned not only as diplomatic stations but as outposts of influence, hubs of soft power, instruments of control. Their presence often meant more than visas and meetings. It meant political pressure, military interests, economic manipulation, and covert operations all under the guise of friendship. But today has drawn a line. He said, and I quote, "If you cannot walk on our land with respect, you will not walk on it at all." It is a thunderclap, a sovereign act in an age where sovereignty is often sold to the highest bidder. And make no mistake, this moment is about more than Burkina Faso. It's about the future of African nations choosing dignity over dependency, courage over compliance. It's about young leaders who no longer beg but build, who no longer plead but protect. Across Ouagadougou, crowds have erupted in support, chanting, celebrating, waving flags and portraits of Thomas Sankara as if his spirit has returned in uniform. And perhaps in many ways it has. This isn't isolationism, it's self-definition. This isn't war, it's withdrawal from invisible occupation. And so, over the next few minutes, we will take you deeper into this unfolding story, into the bold speech that is already being studied in diplomatic halls across Europe and hailed across Africa. Is this the beginning of a new African era? Is this the moment when a nation finally stands tall not as a client state but as a sovereign African republic? Stay with us as we unpack the truth, the courage, and the consequences, because tonight something powerful has happened and the world is watching.
Welcome to Talk of Africa 360, your source for insightful news, analysis, and thoughtful commentary. If you value informed perspectives and fact-based reporting, be sure to like, subscribe, and hit the bell so you never miss an update. Disclaimer: the content on this channel is based on reliable public sources and credible online information. It is intended strictly for educational and analytical purposes. We do not promote or endorse political violence, hate speech, or any form of discrimination. Our goal is to inform, not to inflame. Thanks for being here. Let's stay informed together.
Good day, Africa. I speak not only as a journalist, not merely as a messenger of the hour's events. I speak as an African, as a human whose heart beats with the spirit of Sankara, as a voice trembling with pride at what we have witnessed today in the heart of West Africa. Today, July 15th, 2025, the world watched in disbelief, and Africa watched in awe, as President Ibrahim Traore of Burkina Faso, young, fearless, and unshaken, stood before the world and did what no leader of a formerly colonized African nation has dared do in recent memory. He announced the immediate and permanent closure of all European embassies operating on Burkinabe soil. Yes, you heard it correctly. France gone. Germany, gone. The European Union, gone. No more ambassadors walking these lands with the quiet arrogance of empire. No more covert intelligence agents operating under the cloak of diplomacy. No more development projects masking the theft of our resources. What happened today was not a political maneuver. It was a revolution, delivered through the voice of a soldier who has become a symbol of African resistance. Cut to video footage of crowds in Ouagadougou cheering, waving flags, holding portraits of Thomas Sankara and Captain Traore. Back to presenter. President Traore's speech, aired live across the continent, was nothing short of thunderous. Calm yet explosive, poetic yet surgical. It was the sound of a colonized world collapsing. And tonight, on Africa Rising Network, we bring you not just the facts, but the fire behind them. We will walk together through the speech, through the message, through the meaning. Because this is not just about Burkina Faso. This is about Africa's reckoning. It began with these words, and I quote, "We are not closing embassies. We are opening the gates to freedom." Simple words. Yet behind them lies centuries of betrayal, humiliation, and theft. For decades, European embassies in Africa have served not the African people, but the European agenda. Their so-called missions were rarely about building Africa. They were about building bridges to steal from Africa. Let us not forget, the French embassy in Ouagadougou has for years been accused of interfering in domestic politics, channeling funds to opposition groups, and acting as a soft power stronghold for a country that still believes it owns the keys to West Africa's house. Let us not pretend. German development offices have pushed agricultural policies that benefit German corporations, not Burkinabe farmers. And what of the European Union's diplomatic corps? Were they neutral? No. They were guardians of the neo-colonial order, cloaked in the language of democracy while enforcing the economic servitude of nations. And so today, Traoré said, "If you cannot walk on this land with respect, then you will not walk on it at all." Let us pause for a moment. Because history does not happen every day. And what we are witnessing, what the people of Burkina Faso have done, is historical. This is the first African nation in modern times to take such a direct, unapologetic stand against the entire European diplomatic presence within its borders. Some will say it's madness. Some will call it rash, irresponsible, even dangerous. But we must ask, dangerous to whom? Is it dangerous to the European companies that will now lose access to Burkinabe mines? Is it dangerous to foreign intelligence agencies that will now be expelled from their cozy diplomatic fronts? Is it dangerous to the Western narrative that Africans are weak, divided, and incapable of standing on their own? Indeed, it is dangerous, not to Burkina Faso, but to the global system of neo-colonial control that has kept this continent in chains long after the flags were lowered and the so-called independence documents were signed. President Traoré knows this, and so do the people. As his speech continued, he invoked the name that lingers in every corner of Ouagadougou, Thomas Sankara, the father of Burkinabe dignity, the African Che Guevara, the man who once said, "He who feeds you controls you." Traoré declared, "We are not Sankara's followers. We are his continuation." And with that, the room filled with thunder. This is no longer the era of begging for reform. This is the age of reclaiming what was stolen. The president made it clear, Burkina Faso will now align itself with those who respect her sovereignty, whether in Africa, Latin America, or Asia. And to those who still dream of controlling African lands from Paris or Brussels, you are not welcome in the land of the upright people. This is not isolationism. This is self-determination. Now, to those critics, both at home and abroad, who say Burkina Faso will suffer economically from this move, the president gave a sharp response. Our poverty was not born from isolation. It was born from exploitation. Let us remember, Burkina Faso, despite its gold, its cotton, its youth, has been held hostage by foreign debts, foreign aid, and foreign agendas. But now, that chain is being broken. He went on to say, they call it aid. We call it theft with permission. And he is right. No nation in history has developed through foreign charity. Nations rise when they control their own destiny. And for that to happen, the embassies that serve as tools of control must go. The people have responded with overwhelming support. In Ouagadougou, citizens flooded the streets, not with Molotovs and chaos, but with music, with unity, with clarity. No more occupation, they chanted. No more French command. No more interference. These are not angry mobs. These are awakened minds. This is what terrifies the West. Not coups, not military juntas, but an intellectually awakened African public that can no longer be deceived. This is not just about Burkina Faso. It's about the contagion of courage that now threatens the old order across the Sahel, across West Africa, and across the continent. Let us look now at the deeper significance. In African diplomacy, it has long been considered taboo to directly confront European nations. Our presidents are trained, some might say programmed, to kneel in palaces and ask for permission to build their nations. Today, Traoré did not ask. He ordered. He commanded. He flipped the script. He reminded the world that we are not tenants. We are landlords. And the lease is up. In closing, the president delivered what may be one of the most quotable statements of 21st century African politics. He said, "We will not apologize for defending our dignity. Let Europe pack its bags. Burkina Faso belongs to Burkinabe." And with that, a million chains broke. Across the continent, young Africans are taking to social media to classrooms, to protest lines and street corners, not just to watch this moment, but to join it. Because this is not just about embassies. It is about minds. It is about the invisible embassies, the ones in our schools, our media, our textbooks, our languages, our policies, all of which still echo the voice of the colonizer. Traoré has not just closed buildings. He has opened the gates of psychological liberation. He has sent a message. If you're African, you don't need permission to be free. So what happens next? Will other nations follow? Will Mali, Niger, Guinea, already leaning toward Pan-African alliances, do the same? Will ECOWAS continue to act as a colonial enforcer, or will it be reborn as a true African Union? Only time will tell. But one thing is certain, Burkina Faso has changed the game. The rules are no longer made in Paris. They are made in Ouagadougou, in Bamako, in Niamey, in the hearts of the youth who are tired of kneeling. And so I end tonight's broadcast not with analysis, but with an invitation. To all African leaders still sitting on the fence, still afraid of offending their European patrons, look to Traoré. Look to the crowd that stood behind him. Look to the fire in the eyes of his soldiers, his farmers, his teachers, his youth. That fire is spreading. And to those who still cling to empire, beware. Africa has awakened, and she does not return to sleep once her eyes are open. For Africa Rising Network, I am Aminata Diallo. And tonight, with tears in my eyes and pride in my chest, I say, long live Burkina Faso, long live a sovereign Africa, and long live the uncolonized mind.
As reactions continue to pour in from across the continent, one thing is clear. Africa is demanding respect, sovereignty, and accountability. Was this just a diplomatic misstep or a deeper sign of shifting global alliances? We'll be watching closely. If you found this story important, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more real, unfiltered African news. This is Talk of Africa 360, telling the stories that matter.